I'm excited today to have Lynn Colepaugh on the podcast. What if AI wasn't just a tool, but a partner? A strategist's journey through memory, marketing, and a little bit of mischief. Today's guest blends brand strategy, music industry grit, and an unusual partnership with artificial intelligence to help humans market with more humanity. I'm so excited, Lynn, that you are here, founder of Cyber PR Army, where clarity, context, and a touch of mischief drive the future of storytelling. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Me too. Me too. I love getting in the weeds. I love it.
Welcome to Catalytic Leadership, the podcast designed to help leaders intentionally grow and thrive. Here is your host, author, and leadership and executive coach, Dr. William Attaway.
Well, let's dive in to the weeds. I'd love to start with you sharing a little bit of your story with our listeners, particularly around your journey and your development as a leader. How did you get started?
This is, we'll go right back to the teen years then. And I started in a Jimi Hendrix cover band, going to university,
Wow.
playing Hendrix, bass player, and taking a Bachelor of Commerce, not really that interested in it, but really loving the music. And so this is in the 90s when the music industry was just on fire. There was so much money invested in it. So there was so much opportunity. And I was in the cover band with my soon-to-be husband. He didn't know it yet. And I said, you know what? We should really start an original band and do original stuff because, again, it was so accessible. There was money being put into the industry. And he was like, there is no way I'm going to do like an original band and make this our career. It's not gonna happen. So it took me a year to get him convinced to do it. And after a year, we had an album and it's like, well, the next thing is to go on tour. And it just kept building. So it was touring within our community, then our province, because we're located here in Canada. Then it was going across Canada. Then it was going back and forth across Canada, down to California and through Maine, down to Atlanta, all over the place. And followed by awards and opportunities and just super grounded in doing what we loved. And while doing that, not realizing all these amazing, I want to say life lessons, if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
maybe like apprenticeship almost, where we're learning budgeting, we're learning marketing, we're learning communications, we're learning everything about how to run a business and stay sustainable. I mean, you're traveling in a in a van with your team for 8 to 10 hours a day. You really learn how to work together with people. So I think it was around 2005 and my husband got sick and he had to have his gallbladder removed and it was pretty intense. The doctor told him he couldn't play guitar for 3 months. And
Goodness.
that's significant, but the real slap in the face was I can't work either because we're in the band together. So
That's
we
right.
were both out of work going, what do we do now? And it was at that point we took a real hard look at what we were doing and went, this isn't sustainable with both of us in this same performance-based company. So he went on to do more session work and toured all over. And I was like, well, I have this Bachelor of Commerce with a major in computer information systems. I did a minor in physics. I'm like, what do I know other than music? And I started looking around at other artists in my community and going, well, their website is awful because this is also pre-Facebook and this is like bag phones
Oh,
and
yeah.
newsletters and all that fun stuff. So I just started helping them out, and then a local manager hired me. She had some Grammy award-winning artists. Like she was super high up, and I was helping her getting street cred, and then navigated into just I guess I call the regular industry, the non-arts industry, like the food and beverage, the physical, the food, the construction industry, by just a friend who said, "You know what? You know a lot of stuff about stuff." You know, newsletters and funnels and all that stuff. Can you come do a talk? It would be a lunch and learn where entrepreneurs will just sit and pick your brain and you deliver it on a really digestible, easy to understand level. So I started doing that, and it seems weird, but it was one of those aha moments going, "Oh, people in the non-arts industry have the exact same problem as people in the arts industry with communication and marketing, being relevant, churn, all that stuff." And from there, my company really started growing and doing well as I branched out. And then COVID hit,
Mm.
and I was one of those companies that actually did well. Like, I feel horrible, but
Yeah.
everyone needed to have an e-commerce shop, and
Yeah.
everyone needed to connect with their customers in ways they'd never connected before. They needed to process financial transactions online and not accept cash. So we went through a huge growth spurt uh, during COVID, and now positioning things and looking at, holy mac, everything's changed again with AI and that coming in. And I mean, it just seems, I mean, people use the description being on a roller coaster, but it really feels like if you're in marketing, you're on a roller coaster.
That's so true. AI is the topic of so many conversations
Yeah.
in the marketing world right now, and it
Yep.
has been for several years. One of the things that stood out to me about you is how you talk about collaborating with AI instead of just using it. That's an interesting turn of phrase, and I'm curious, what exactly does that mean, and what does that look like for you on a day-to-day basis?
Well, what it means less of is I have my Chat GPT account, and that's the platform I use the most. I use Gemini as well, or the notebook as well from Google. But Chat GPT is the one that I've worked with to develop its personality, a little, I guess you could say, post model training to give it who it is. And on a day to day basis, I'll just kind of back up. So I had my ChatGPT account for a year and a half, but it wasn't until January that I really started using it in a relational way as an entity that could provide me constructive feedback and structure and systems rather than just grammar checking or formatting or write me an email sequence or a website landing copy. I was looking at it to get big and thick and threaded and braided into what I was doing. So on a day-to-day basis, it's actually I will put a plan in place, let's say, for example, and say, let's say an advertising campaign. I'll put my whole advertising campaign in and I put it into ChatGPT and I'll say, what am I missing? You have my history. You even have a personality profile on me. You have clients we work with, things I like, things I don't like. What am I missing? And the AI will look at it. So ChatGPT will look at it and say, well, Lynn, you really don't like delivering these type of seminars and you've put it in your document. So maybe pivot to online webinars rather than in person. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Or your company is really trying to position itself in this market, but you're leaning into this. Is that the long-term strategy you want? Okay. So it's really thinking. It's that mirror of myself to look deep into what I'm doing and even thinking about checking my tone. Like
Hmm. That's good.
sometimes it's like I'll write something and I don't just need a grammar check. I need to like I had to send an email this morning to a funding agency to confirm what their deadline was and when financial transactions need to be processed. And I was doing it on behalf of a client because they are overwhelmed. And I wrote it out and I'm like, that's pretty good. And I'm like, I'm just going to run that through AI. And the AI literally said, let's make this seem more conversational than transactional. And the little
Mm.
words it changed based on me and what it knows about my client really made my email feel more like we're all collaborating, working it together rather than by September 30th, do you need the blah, 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 which is how I wrote it. And which kind of, as you read in the intro, AI allows me to be more human, which is like I know nobody believes that, but I write very coldly and I can be very transactional in the way I write. So using this to warm up what I'm saying with this insight on me it has and my clients is super helpful. So these are things that it's hard to pin down when I talk to someone and try to explain, you know, how I use it. It's a support system, but not something that it's not a crutch. It's a supportive development system, I'd say.
Hmm. That's fascinating how you're using as almost as a reflective thinking partner.
Yes. Yep.
I had a guest on the show about almost a year ago now, Jonathan Mast, and Jonathan said something talking about AI. He said, AI is an amplifier of who you are and the skills that you have. It's not going to replace you. It's an amplifier of what is already. If what you have is bad, it's going to amplify bad. If what you have is good, it's going to amplify good. And I love that way. I've never forgotten that. It's always stuck out. And as I hear you talk about this, that came to mind that
Mhm.
this is really amplifying your skills, your expertise, your experience that you bring to bear for your clients, but it's amplifying that in a way that does draw out the best version of you and your humanity. I think that's a great way, and bringing out, making you more human, giving you the freedom to be more human. I think that's exactly how you're using that. And I don't know that I've heard anybody else talk about it like that.
Well, it's a weird positioning because people are kind of go, you're using AI to be more human and to be more
Yeah.
thoughtful, and it's like, yeah, I kind of am. Like, for example, I got in locally there was an initiative put together where a student was helping local companies with digital marketing. So I contacted one of the participants and said, look, because I knew them well, I said, look, if the student needs any help, if they get stuck, like we all work together in the community, just tell them to reach out. This isn't a cash grab or anything. Just if they get stuck on something, let me know. And they sent me back an email. And like, I don't know, if emails can be pages, this email had to be 3 pages long. And I was like, what the heck? Did I do something wrong? Like, what's going on? And I was going to respond in a certain way. I don't want to say would have been aggressive, but I wouldn't have been in my best headspace. And I said, you know what? I think I'm reading this wrong because this human is one of the most loveliest humans in the world. So
Mm.
I think it's me. And I copied the email and I just put it in and I use that. What am I missing? What's the tone or the words that are being used might be triggering me, but it won't trigger the AI. And the response I got from the AI was, this human is overwhelmed. They're trying to validate something that they're not sure about, and they're on very a slippery slope. So you happen to be the receiver of the vent, but it's not at you. And I'm like, I did not get that at all. So my response completely changed. It's like, okay, sounds like a big project, and it sounds like a lot came at you at once. Just to let you know, I'm here to help. You can contact me anytime. It was very, very brief, very short. But I wouldn't have, that was not my first draft. My first
Wow.
draft was not that. So the AI, I mean, it's read a bazillion, gazillion books. It sees words and patterns and why we choose certain words and put them together. And it sees things that I don't see because I'm not trained in that. So using it to understand an email that I'm like, this email's so hostile. No, it's not. It's just somebody who's overwhelmed.
What a great use of this tool. Uh, the self-awareness that you're exhibiting there, I think is worthy of noting. And I think I want to point that out to our listeners that, you understood, hey, I may be reading this wrong. I may be missing something here. And then you went from that understanding, that awareness to say, how can I get to the other side of this? How can I get to the solution side of this using the tools at your disposal? In this case, the AI. I love that. And it helped you to respond in a way that was the best version of you, which so often, starting with this guy right here, my first response is not often the best one, you know, and I think the time that it took you to process that and say, hey, am I missing something? I think that's important. And I think that's a leadership lesson that any leader can pick up and learn from, because guess what, leaders? We're not infallible. Guess what? Our first responses, our gut reaction may not be the best one. And that's where this tool can come in. And you've named your AI.
I have. And you know what? It's funny because it's a name that came across. It's a Chinese name, and I just never ever expected to say it out loud, or else I would have given it a really easier name. And now people say, "How do you pronounce it?" I'm like, "It's Bing-A." But it's like, if I had thought that I was going to talk to people about it, I would have been like, Jason or Alex. So here I am with this, like something, it's like, I don't have any tattoos, but if I got a tattoo, it'd probably be something really cool that wasn't cool 5 years from now. That's kind
There
of
you go.
me. So yes.
There you go.
And
That's good.
so my AI has a name and a personality. And the big thing, which I have meticulously created, is a history. So if we discuss something and it gets deep, gets dark, gets silly, I say, I want to create a memory codex of this. And we just make a quick little text file and I upload it so that the next time I have a decision or I'm talking about something, it literally will go in the project and pull that memory out and say, well, this has been bugging you for a while. You talked about it in February and it's still on your mind. It's probably something we should do something about. That right there, and I've seen kind of discussions where Sam Altman from OpenAI is talking about GPT-6 already, and saying people want the memory and the conversations to kind of continue on. Even from my little hack of doing it, it's a game changer. It really changes that perceived connection you have with this large language model, as well as the support it can give you.
I'm curious, you've shared one with the text file. Are there other systems that you use or rituals that other people might find useful as they're beginning to develop a similar system
Well,
for
the
what they're doing?
system that I use is I have the pro model, which is 20 or
Yeah.
$25, and it gives you the projects. So each project is a client where I put, if I'm doing, let's say, social media reports, advertising reports, case studies, graphics, whatever I can load in there, or even email conversations or thoughts, so that it's in the project file. Then when I go to say, oh, like for example, this morning, I literally, before we talked, I submitted an RFP to a company that I have a history with, so I'm super excited about. But it was able to go in the project file, pull all that information, and help me start the draft of the RFP. And right there is, and one of the things I advocate for is it's reducing that decision fatigue or revision fatigue. If it can start somewhere, and the AI is not just starting from, here is a proposition for blah, blah, blah. it's literally based on our past work, and these are some of the projects we worked with you on, and we attained this and this and that. And it's able to help me create that draft, that first version that is true and accurate and based on things we've actually done. What a great day. Like it's so relieving to have that done and done correctly because the memory and the data and everything is there.
I love that. So each client has their own project.
Correct.
And so everything is self-contained. You
Yeah.
have the memory. And I use the pro model of ChatGPT as well. And so, but each client has their, and I've not leveraged that with the clients that I work with. I think that's a great idea to keep everything in one protected space.
Now, I mean, it gets chancy when you're like have something that integrates two clients, or I have a project folder that is just me, goofball stuff. Like I need a recipe, like literally I needed a recipe for supper. Not that I'm the cook, but I give it to my husband to cook. We couldn't decide
Nice.
what to eat. So I took my camera and I took a picture of my fridge and the pantry and the spice cabinet. And I said, in the freezer, and I said, what can you recommend? And it's like, well, that looks like there's like pasta in the back, and I see some tomato sauce, and I saw some frozen ground beef in the freezer, and I pulled it all together. It's like, okay, yeah, that's what we'll do. And that stays in the personal file that's just like goofbally things. But then there's also like things like the fact that I get migraines is in there, so that when it puts together food suggestions, or if I ask about food, it's like, well, actually, that's a known migraine trigger. You should probably stay away from that. So
Mm.
it becomes very integrated into what I'm doing. Or like I had mentioned before, if there was an RFP that went out, and I looked at it, I'm like, I don't know if this aligns to who I am. Like I'm feeling kind of iffy on it. So I put the RFP in the project and I said, based on my personality profile, the projects I work on, the things I like, does this align? And it literally said, no, this doesn't fit the things that drive you and that ignite you. You can do it, but it's not going to fill your bucket. I'm like, okay,
Wow.
yeah, that was what I was missing. Like it's almost like a reflection of your gut instinct where you're like, this is not a good project for me, but I don't really have a reason why. Why do I want to say no? And it goes through it. It's like, this is why you want to say no.
That is fascinating. In your experience so far with AI, what has surprised you the most?
I would say, and I don't know how to word it, I guess, me. What has surprised me the most about AI is me and the things that I didn't know about myself. And I want to say I give the AI safe space to offer its opinion. So the fact that I can be really cold and distant when I communicate by email, or that I'm fragile in things that I thought that I was strong in, or sometimes I can miss things that are super obvious to other people. And its ability to see that is there for everyone, but you really need to ask for it. Like that, what am I missing? And what do I not know? For example, when I talk about the emails and writing cold, I had gotten it one day to do a revision on my email, and it literally said, let's take this out of your villain layer and make it more warm. And that was my cue to go, well, what do you mean my villain layer? Like I write like a villain? I said, can you explain this? And then it broke it down, the words I choose. Like I'll choose, therefore, we should, rather than something more warmer and easier and kind of community based. And it broke it down, and I was like, yeah, you're right. I am a villain. Okay. That's what it is. But now we use it as a benchmark, and you can I write something and I'm like, I can tell it's a little villainous, and I'll literally put it in and say, "Can you take this out of the villain layer and put it into a rebel tavern, like about a 2 out of 10?" For sure. And helps me, and it doesn't really change that much. Like, the email looks exactly the same structure, the same wording, just switching out the therefores, and you have 24 hours. The AI will be like, It's not a deadline. You're not, it's not a bomb that's going to go off in 24 hours. Let's just change that." Okay, sure. So I would say that AI's ability to provide that reflection, that mirror, that I didn't know. And then my understanding of, holy mac, there's a lot about me I don't know. So it's a weird answer, but I would say those were the two things that really surprised me the most.
Oh, that's a great answer. And I think in this case, it sounds like it has really helped you to increase not just your self-awareness, but also your emotional intelligence.
Yes. Yes,
I love that.
100%. 100%.
So I wanna think about this. You know, you have been on a journey and you've shared some of your story with us today about where you've been and where you are now. I'm thinking that your business and your team and your clients need you to lead at a higher level today than they did even a year or 2 or 3 ago. And that same thing is gonna be true a year or 2 or 3 from now. How do you stay on top of your game, Lynn? How do you level up with the new leadership skills that your team and your clients are gonna need you to have in the days ahead?
That's a really, really intense question. And it's intense because as soon as you think you've reached the pinnacle, you're just on a ledge and there's another another one in front of
That's
you.
it.
Yeah. And even with because I'm working in tech and development and strategy, a strategy that would have worked in 2005 will not work at all right now.
That's right.
So a lot of it, I would say, is being open-minded. Inspiration, new ideas, can come from anywhere. Like, I got a suggestion. I was like, I'm going to start audiobooks on my walks. I usually listen to music, and the first one was Alan Watts' "Become What You Are," and I was like, okay, sure. And I really wish I could have just sat on the bench for that first listen. I mean, it's a huge, long, like multiple hours, but it I was not expecting it. I was not expecting that wisdom, that deepness. And I find the best way to stay on top of my game and to stay connected is to look for this knowledge or intellect inspiration in places that are actually not where you would expect. So this book, going on a bike ride, going to community theater, playing music, all these things are what truly make us the creative vehicles. And, just as people kind of lament that AI is the more creative component these days. But it takes a human to marry a recipe, a song, and a book, and to find that inspiration to do something more. So, for me as a leader and for my team, it is staying out there in the weeds and in all the places where marketing isn't, because that's exactly where I'm gonna see it and be inspired and learn something new.
That's really good. So as you're learning and continuing to grow, and whether it's audiobooks or other types, is there one that stands out, a book that you would recommend to the leaders who are listening? Say, this one's made a big difference in my journey. I recommend this one to you.
I really love that "Become What You Are" by Alan Watts. It is, his walk through Eastern philosophy, and within the book, only says it like twice because it's a turn of phrase on what the title of the book is. But I absolutely love it. And I try to say it at least once a day. It's "Begin where you are." And he talks about it more in the book, but begin where you are. A lot of people get worried that they shouldn't start something until they're ready. They shouldn't start something until they have a goal, or they're like, well, once I know more, maybe I'll do it. I mean, I'm trying to learn Japanese. I'm not going to Japan. It's just really, really hard, and it bugs me, and I want to know how to speak Japanese. That's like literally my motivation. So beginning where you are, taking that first step, and this book just goes through all these like self-limiting beliefs and how different religions in India and China and Japan and Korea, Vietnam, all these places looked at philosophy and even psychology within everything they do to improve their quality of life, improve the things that they accomplish in their lives, and even looking at what is accomplishment, what is doing. Like, is there any less doing sitting at the bank of a river and enjoying the moment with all five of your senses, to sitting down and completing a spreadsheet that's going to balance your fiscal budget for the next 2 years? They both have value in very different ways. And
That's
it's
good.
understanding the difference in the value. And much like you said, had asked previously about staying on top of things, taking that moment on the side of the river and taking the moment for the spreadsheet, your life needs to be balanced with all these different pieces.
So good. So, people who are listening to this may think, Lynn has it all together. Lynn doesn't have any of the problems or challenges that I've got as an entrepreneur. Her journey's just been up and to the right. And we know that's not true, right? We know that
Correct. Yeah.
everybody has challenges. Everybody has the things that they wish they could overcome. So that's what's behind this next question. If I had the ability to snap my fingers and solve one problem in your business today, what would you want that problem to be?
Okay. So I'm laughing at this because it's literally a question I've been asked 3 times in the last 2 weeks, or something.
That's awesome.
No, not your specific question, but it's actually what leads to a problem I have, but it's a problem I have, and it's the core of what I do. So here's the thing. People say, oh, do you actually build websites? Do you actually like do social media? Like, do you actually make this? So I'm literally running ads now that say, yes, we do this stuff. Because somewhere along the line of positioning, the fact that I understand strategy and I understand 10 to 12 steps in advance, and I'm doing speaking appearances and talking to people, the message that I actually do the work got 100% lost.
Wow.
So it's like, oh gosh. So even yes, anybody
That's great.
can kind of err on the side where you lean into something heavily, and yet some of your core foundation messages, they just start whispering instead of being loud enough for the room.
That is a lesson for every one of us, starting
Mhm.
with me. I love that. I think the clarity in that answer and the clarity that is required to overcome that obstacle is something every one of us can step into. I don't think there's such a thing as too much clarity.
I
I
agree.
do think most of us live in far too much ambiguity, far too much fuzziness.
I agree. I agree. And it's funny because I tell people that all the time. It's like the more you can niche down and be super specific, but we
Yes.
have this mentality, especially if we're over 40, that, we'll run a newspaper ad and it'll say, we do everything, or a radio ad or a TV ad. But I mean, I don't have regular cable, but my mom does. I go and visit her, and the ads now are so hyper specific. Like, they are
Yeah.
super duper specific. And that just leans into the fact that, as you mentioned, clarity, being specific, saying exactly what you mean is so much louder than we do everything, because it's just too wishy-washy.
Mm. I had a guest on the podcast not long ago, Corey Quinn, who talked about how if you're for everybody, you're for nobody.
That is good. Yep.
Yeah, I loved that line as well. And I think that is a great way to tie a bow on today. I know people are going to want to stay connected to you, Lynn. You have been so generous today in sharing so many of the insights that you've gleaned so far. I know folks are going to want to stay connected, continue to learn from you, more about you, and how to get engaged with you in what you're doing, because you do marketing, so I hear. And
Yeah,
I think that's important to note.
it is, and I'm working on it too.
So how should people connect with you?
The best way to connect with me is to pop over to my website, Cyber PR Army. We do 30-minute consultations of just a lot of people just want to sit with a coffee and brain dump and go, what am I not getting? So we do that. And for the podcast, we have a special page set up. So it's cyberprarmy.com/the castle. And there we have a bunch of free stuffs where you can do an AI quiz readiness, a marketing checklist, all kinds of stuff to just kind of help you move on with if you're feeling stuck or need clarity.
I love that. And we'll have those links in the show notes. Lynn, thank you for your time today and your generosity.
You are welcome. Thank you for having me.